Ladies and gentlemen, hear me now, for the truth I am about to impart is not whispered in casual conversation, nor is it understood by those who seek comfort over greatness. I speak to the minds prepared to rise above the mediocrity of their past, to those who will no longer cower beneath the weight of their uncontrolled emotions, to those willing to sever the chains of their old selves and ascend into the power of mastery. Your old self, the one mired in reactivity, the one that trembles at criticism, the one enslaved by the opinions of the world, must die. And only then, and only through relentless inner discipline, can your new self rise, a self that commands its thoughts, controls its emotions, and shapes reality with unyielding certainty. Consider for a moment the chaos that rules the lives of men and women untrained in the art of their own minds. Look at the masses, drifting from one impulse to the next, governed by fear, desire, envy, and pride. Observe the individual who allows anger to dictate action, who reacts to every slight, who capitulates to the clamor of public opinion, and you will witness failure in its most naked form. Understand this, and understand it deeply. If you allow your emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. This is not theory, it is law. It is the natural order of cause and effect. Every great achievement in human history, every leap of invention, every conquest of mind over circumstance has been accomplished by those who exercised the sovereign power within, the power to master their own consciousness. It is not the world outside that crushes a man, it is the lack of control within. The first principle of your new existence is this: definiteness of purpose. You must define with absolute precision the individual you intend to become. Without this clarity, without the unshakable vision of your future self, the tumult of emotion will batter your mind as a storm batters a ship at sea. When your purpose is clear, when it burns with relentless intensity in the depths of your consciousness, every obstacle becomes an instrument of your growth. Every insult, every betrayal, every failure, no matter how bitter, becomes fuel for the ascent of your new self. But purpose alone is insufficient. Purpose without mastery over emotion is like a powerful engine with a shattered rudder. It will spin, it will roar, but it will never arrive at the destination you desire. And so we come to the second principle: self-discipline. Understand this now. Self-discipline is the bridge between thought and action. It is the internal law that transforms intention into reality. To cultivate it, you must observe the mind as a general observes a battlefield. Every thought that arises is a soldier. Every impulse is a potential attack. You do not allow chaos to roam unchecked. You command, you redirect, you discipline. You destroy that which no longer serves your ascent. The third principle is one of profound subtlety, yet of monumental consequence: emotional detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference. It does not mean the denial of human feeling. Rather, it is the deliberate choice to rise above the compulsions of the reactive mind. It is the knowledge that the world outside, with all its provocations, has no dominion over the citadel of your mind unless you allow it. A man who is emotionally detached is not fragile, he is impenetrable. He is not cold, he is precise. He does not stumble in the face of adversity. He navigates it with the calm assurance of one who knows that the external storm cannot touch the internal fortress. Ask yourself this: how many opportunities have slipped through your grasp because you reacted impulsively? How many relationships have fractured because you allowed your ego, your pride, your fleeting desire for validation to dictate your conduct? Consider it carefully, for it is the reflection of an undisciplined mind. And now envision the alternative: a mind that is still, clear, and razor sharp, a mind that responds but does not react, a mind that calculates but does not capitulate, a mind that observes the chaos of the world with the serene detachment of a master, while quietly, inexorably, bending reality to its will. The fourth principle is autosuggestion, the deliberate feeding of your consciousness with thoughts aligned to your purpose. Every word you speak to yourself, every image you allow to persist in your imagination, becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious. If you constantly feed doubt, fear, and resentment, you harvest impotence. If you feed conviction, courage, and detachment, you harvest unstoppable strength. Here is the secret. The mind does not distinguish between the imagined and the real. It obeys the dominion of repeated, intentional thought. If you wish to rise, you must first command the narrative within. Let me speak to you plainly. The enemy is not outside. It never was. The enemy is the untamed mind, the habitual reactivity, the reliance upon comfort, the devotion to the familiar self that cowers in mediocrity. Your old self clings to the illusions of safety, but safety is the lie of the weak. Growth demands risk. Mastery demands sacrifice. And the first sacrifice is the death of your old self, the surrender of habits, attachments, and emotions that diminish your power. Only when you kill what you were can you awaken to what you are capable of becoming. Now, consider the law of mental neutrality. Whatever is not under your conscious command becomes your master. If anger controls you, you are its servant. If fear dictates your choices, you are its prisoner. But if you cultivate the habit of detachment, if you impose calm and reason over instinctive reaction, you become sovereign. You can choose in every circumstance the thought that serves your purpose. You can act with precision rather than impulse. You can create your destiny rather than stumble into it. Powerful men and women throughout history have known this. They have understood the alchemy of thought, the transformation that occurs when desire, discipline, and detachment converge. They did not rise because fortune favored them. They rose because they mastered themselves. Alexander, Caesar, Franklin, Lincoln all understood that the external world yields only to the internal victor. Command your mind, and the world bends to your command. Fail to command it, and the world, indifferent, crushes you. The principle of accurate thinking is your next weapon. In every decision, in every judgment, in every action, you must strip away the fog of emotion. Facts must govern, not impulse. Reality must speak louder than opinion. A disciplined mind is precise, unswayed by rumor, distraction, or emotional disturbance. The man who sees clearly, who reasons deliberately, who acts from truth rather than sentiment is unstoppable. As you ascend this path, you will encounter temptation, the lure of old habits, the seductive voice of comfort, the insistence of fear that you remain small. You must resist, not with mere willpower, but with the unshakable understanding that the old self is dead, the new self is rising, and there is no retreat. Every temptation is a test, every challenge a crucible. Steel your mind, sharpen your focus, and proceed with relentless conviction. And now, my listeners, I call you to the final principle, the apex of this philosophy, the principle of response versus reaction. To react is to surrender, to respond is to command. When provocation arises, when insult, loss, or misfortune crosses your path, you stand at the threshold of your power. React impulsively, and you fall into the trap of the undisciplined. Respond deliberately, and you rise into mastery. Cultivate this habit, and every storm, every attack, every obstacle becomes your instrument, your ally, your opportunity to strengthen your dominion over the mind. Understand, this is no trivial journey. It demands courage. It demands sacrifice. It demands the willingness to look into the mirror of your own character and acknowledge the weaknesses, fears, and attachments that must be destroyed. But know this also. The reward is incomparable. A man who has mastered his mind, who is detached from reaction, who has disciplined thought and emotion, becomes not only unassailable, but unstoppable. Success is no longer a possibility. It is an inevitability. And so I say to you, with the authority of experience and the clarity of law, your old self must die. Not tomorrow, not in vague contemplation, but now. Begin immediately to sever the chains of reactivity, of attachment, of dependence upon approval or circumstance. Command your thoughts, master your emotions, and cultivate the inner fortress that no external storm can breach. Rise then into your destiny. Let the new self emerge, strong, precise, unwavering. Know that every great achievement, every towering monument of human effort begins with this principle: mastery over the self. Embrace it, live it. Die to the old and rise as the architect of your life, the sovereign of your mind, the unstoppable force upon the world. Now, let us examine the battlefield within. Understand this clearly. The mind is not a passive instrument. It is a forge, a field, a war zone, and within it, two forces clash constantly: your old self, steeped in habit, fear, and reactive impulse, and your new self, forged in the fire of purpose, discipline, and deliberate thought. The struggle is invisible, yet its consequences are manifest in every facet of your life. To succeed, you must become the commander of this inner army. You must know every soldier by name, understand their strengths and weaknesses, and deploy them with precision, allowing no traitor to run amok in the ranks. Consider the individual who allows resentment to linger, who rehearses imagined slights, who cultivates anger as though it were a cherished friend. What is this but giving power to forces outside of your conscious command? Every moment spent in reactive thought is a moment surrendered, a forfeiture of strength, a concession to weakness. The weak build walls around themselves, hoping to contain the chaos, while the strong build mastery over the chaos itself. The weak react, the strong respond. The weak complain, the strong command. And you, if you are willing to rise, must be among the strong. Look to history for evidence of this principle in action. Abraham Lincoln, beset by ridicule, failure, and personal loss, did not allow bitterness or despair to dictate his actions. He chose, moment by moment, to command his thoughts, to rise above the petty provocations of critics and enemies, to act with calm, deliberate precision. Had he allowed emotional turbulence to govern him, the course of a nation might have been lost. Yet he understood that mastery over self precedes mastery over circumstance. Alexander the Great, confronting armies and empires, relied not solely on military might, but on the clarity of his strategic mind, unclouded by fear or doubt. Napoleon, though flawed in many respects, demonstrated how a disciplined mind can bend the will of thousands to the vision of one. These men understood that the external world is merely a reflection of internal command. The next step on your ascent is the cultivation of mental neutrality in all situations. Picture yourself at the center of a storm. Winds howl, debris strikes, chaos reigns. The untrained mind is thrown this way and that, buffeted by every external influence. The trained mind, however, stands as a mountain, immovable, serene, unmoved by the tumult. Mental neutrality is the recognition that circumstance, opinion, and adversity are neutral forces they possess. No inherent power to disturb you except what you grant them. Your task is to grant none. Let the world rage. Let it whisper, cajole, insult, or tempt. Stand firm. Observe without attachment. Respond with reason. Act with strategy. And your mind becomes unassailable. Yet, achieving this state demands more than observation. It requires ritualized discipline, the deliberate structuring of your mental environment. You must feed your mind with ideas that elevate, not ones that diminish. You must cultivate habits of thought that align with your highest purpose. Each morning, as dawn pierces the darkness, command your consciousness with clarity. What is my purpose today? What shall I achieve? What thought shall govern me in the face of inevitable provocation? This ritual, repeated day after day, builds an internal scaffolding strong enough to support the weight of empires of success. Let us speak of temptation. Temptation comes clothed in the guise of comfort, distraction, and immediate gratification. It whispers, return to ease, return to the familiar, let the struggle pass. The old self would yield, would surrender. The new self recognizes temptation as a test, as the gatekeeper to higher achievement. Every moment of discipline is a victory. Every moment of self-control compounds into the inexorable rise of power. Do not mistake small victories for inconsequence. The accumulation of disciplined moments is the bedrock of unstoppable success. Now, let us address the principle of emotional alchemy, the art of transforming emotional energy into deliberate action. Desire, anger, fear, and passion are potent forces. Uncontrolled, they destroy. Controlled, they become instruments of creation. A mind trained in emotional alchemy does not suppress feeling. It channels it. Rage becomes focus. Anxiety becomes preparation. Desire becomes resolve. Each emotion, understood and directed, becomes a lever, a tool, a vehicle, propelling you toward your ultimate purpose. The man who can convert every emotional disturbance into action aligned with his goal is invincible. Picture yourself for a moment at the precipice of opportunity. The winds of fear batter you. The shadows of doubt attempt to cloud your vision. The untrained individual retreats. The reactive mind flees. But you, who have embraced detachment, discipline, and clarity of purpose, stand firm. You acknowledge fear, yet you do not obey it. You recognize doubt, yet you do not succumb. You step forward, deliberately, confidently, inexorably, and the world bends. The opportunity is seized. The impossible becomes reality. The old self is left behind, a ghost, powerless, irrelevant. The new self rises, unstoppable, masterful, sovereign. You must also understand the principle of selective focus. Your mind, though powerful, is not infinite. Every thought invested in negativity, every second given to distraction is energy lost. You must train yourself to perceive only what serves your ascent. Let insults pass as rain upon your cloak. Notice them, but allow them no purchase. Let criticism be a tool, a mirror reflecting potential improvements, rather than a weapon to wound your confidence. Choose your battles with the precision of a strategist, and you will find that the majority of struggles you once endured dissolve when met with detachment. Consider the role of self-dialogue in this transformation. The internal conversation you maintain is not trivial. It is the architect of your character. Do you speak to yourself in terms of limitation or expansion? Do you cultivate doubt or conviction? The self-disciplined mind maintains a dialogue of encouragement, of strategy, of calm resolve. It acknowledges challenge, but does not dramatize it. It embraces effort, but does not dramatize failure. It does not negotiate with weakness. It commands strength habitually until strength becomes the default state of being. Now, contemplate the law of habitual excellence. Every repeated action, every repeated thought becomes a groove, a pathway, a tendency. If you react impulsively, you reinforce weakness. If you act deliberately, you reinforce mastery. If you allow the mind to wander into fear, you fortify apprehension. If you direct it into purpose, you fortify power. Every habit of thought is a building block in the edifice of your new self. Master the habit, and the character is forged. Master the character, and success is inevitable. As we approach the pinnacle of this understanding, consider the necessity of relentless self-inquiry. Examine each impulse, each emotion, each habitual response. Question, does this serve my ascent? Does this align with the self I intend to become? If the answer is no, eliminate it. Do so decisively. Do not negotiate with weakness, for every compromise with your former self is a delay in your dominion over life itself. The new self tolerates no ambivalence, no half measures, no attachments that undermine its authority. The final and most critical element is action through calmness. Let action not be frantic, impulsive, or reactive. Let it be deliberate, measured, precise, and aligned with purpose. There is immense power in calm action. The storm of activity without purpose is noise. The deliberate act from a calm, disciplined mind is creation itself. When you combine emotional detachment, disciplined thought, autosuggestion, accurate thinking, and deliberate action, you become a force of nature, not because the world has favored you, but because you have mastered yourself. Therefore, my listeners, understand that the journey is not gentle. It is not easy. It demands sacrifice, vigilance, and an unflinching willingness to destroy the old self. But the prize is extraordinary. A life of mastery, of unparalleled effectiveness, of unstoppable achievement. The new self does not waver in the face of challenge. It does not hesitate when opportunity presents itself. It does not fall prey to the tyranny of uncontrolled emotion. It rises, as all men and women destined for greatness must rise, uncompromising, unbreakable, sovereign. Let this declaration echo in your mind. Your old self must die. Your new self must rise. Every thought, every choice, every action must serve this principle. There is no retreat, no hesitation, no apology for the pursuit of mastery. The world will test you, provoke you, attempt to pull you back into mediocrity. Stand firm, rise, command, conquer. You must now confront the truth that few dare to acknowledge. Emotional comfort is the enemy of progress. Comfort lulls the mind into surrender. It whispers, remain as you are. There is no urgency. You are safe. And so the old self nestles into inertia, like a prisoner content behind imaginary bars, blind to the vast potential just beyond the walls it refuses to scale. But the new self recognizes comfort for what it is, a cage. Every moment spent indulging in passive reassurance, in habitual excuses, in rationalizations of inaction, is a moment stolen from destiny. To rise, you must be willing to endure discomfort, to walk deliberately into adversity, and to welcome challenge as the crucible in which your inner authority is forged. Consider the principle of response versus reaction, for it is here that mastery reveals itself most starkly. The reactionary mind explodes with emotion, lashes with words, retreats in fear, or seizes impulsively at opportunity without direction. The responsive mind, however, pauses, evaluates, weighs consequences, aligns with purpose, and acts deliberately. Response is intelligence in motion. Reaction is instinct untrained. Every man and woman who achieves greatness, whether on the battlefield of commerce, art, or governance, has understood that control over response is control over destiny. You may not govern events, but you can govern yourself. You may not command circumstances, but you can command your reactions. And in this lies freedom and power beyond measure. Let us speak next of the discipline of thought. Thought is not ephemeral. It is the architect of reality. Every condition of your life began first as thought. Every achievement first existed in the mind before it materialized in the world. But thought, like a wild horse, can wander aimlessly or be bridled and directed. The new self does not allow thoughts to roam unchecked. It sets intention, it monitors the currents of the mind, it intercepts the negative, the fearful, the corrosive, and replaces them with clarity, strategy, and focus. To control your thoughts is to control your fate. To discipline your mind is to shape your destiny. You must understand the potency of autosuggestion, the deliberate feeding of your mind with affirmations, visions, and commands that align with your highest purpose. Repetition of deliberate thought rewires the subconscious, directing energy toward achievement rather than defeat. Each day, speak to yourself in terms of mastery, of resilience, of unwavering commitment. Tell your mind, I am unshakable, I am disciplined, I am the master of my emotions, I am the architect of my life. Do this not once, not occasionally, but daily, until the mind itself becomes an ally, until every fiber of your being aligns with the trajectory of unstoppable success. Yet, autosuggestion alone is not enough. Action must follow thought. The new self marries clarity with execution. It does not linger in contemplation alone. Ideas without action are like seeds cast on barren ground. They will not flourish. Every morning as the sun rises, create a plan, a strategy, a deliberate set of acts aligned with your purpose. Execute these acts with precision, discipline, and focus. Let each action compound upon the last. Let momentum gather like a tidal wave. The old self hesitates, the new self strikes with confidence, with deliberate force, with inevitability. You must also embrace the principle of detachment from outcome. This is subtle but vital. Attachment to result creates anxiety, fear, and reactive behavior. The new self acts with purpose, but it does not waver in desperation or collapse in disappointment. It understands that effort is within your control. Result is not. It gives its all in preparation, execution, and persistence, yet maintains calm, clarity, and equanimity regardless of immediate reward. History's most extraordinary achievers, scientists, leaders, explorers, acted with relentless commitment while remaining detached from fleeting approval or recognition. They understood that the universe responds not to clamor, but to consistent, disciplined, and directed effort. And now let us consider the mastery of patience, a quality too often overlooked in our restless age. Impatience is the symptom of the old self, a desire for instant gratification, for immediate validation, for quick success. The new self understands that greatness is cumulative. It is forged not in a single act, not in the applause of the moment, but in years of disciplined thought, deliberate action, and unbroken resolve. Patience is power concentrated. Patience is foresight. Patience is the soil in which the seeds of extraordinary achievement grow into towering forests. You must cultivate a mind resistant to provocation. the world will attempt to disturb your calm. Colleagues, competitors, friends, even family, each can present stimuli designed to provoke anger, frustration, or fear. Your old self reacts violently, defensively, or destructively. The new self observes, evaluates, and chooses. The insult passes like wind across a mountain peak. It cannot erode the summit. Your response is measured. Your mind remains sovereign. You are the master of your internal state. Nothing external may govern it without your consent. Consider next the alchemy of adversity. Life will impose trials, failures, betrayals, and suffering. The untrained mind succumbs, becomes bitter, loses purpose. The new self sees adversity as raw material. Each obstacle is transformed into leverage, each setback into insight, each failure into fuel. This is no mere metaphor. Adversity becomes a teacher, a guide, a forge. Those who achieve greatness consistently have not avoided suffering. They have harnessed it, transmuted it, and used it to propel themselves to heights unimaginable to those who flee challenge. Do not mistake this path as gentle or kind. The death of the old self requires ruthless honesty, unflinching discipline, and the willingness to let go of attachments that comfort but constrain. Comfort in habit, approval, resentment, fear, doubt, all must be dismantled. The mind must be stripped bare, cleansed of weakness, fortified with purpose, and armed with relentless clarity. Only then may the new self rise fully sovereign, fully capable, fully alive. To this, add the practice of deliberate isolation, the conscious withdrawal from mental noise and distraction. The new self requires space, silence, and focus to develop. In solitude, the mind sharpens. In stillness, clarity emerges. In deliberate withdrawal, you may confront truth without distortion. You may wrestle with weakness until it bends to discipline. And you may hear the voice of your higher purpose, previously drowned by chaos. The final elements: integration of body, mind, and spirit cannot be ignored. Emotional detachment and mental discipline demand physical support. Energy must be cultivated, not squandered. Nutrition, exercise, rest, and meditation are allies in this conquest. They provide the resilience, vitality, and endurance necessary to sustain prolonged focus and deliberate action. The mind is powerful, but it is housed in a vessel that must be nurtured, conditioned, and disciplined. Neglect the body and the mind falters. Strengthen the body, and the mind gains wings. As you approach this understanding, feel the weight and clarity of this command. Everything about you that is reactive, fearful, indulgent, or weak must die. Every habit, every thought, every emotional pattern that constrains, delays, or diminishes your potential must be destroyed. In their place, you erect discipline, clarity, sovereignty, and resolve. You are reborn, and your life becomes a reflection of the mastery within. Understand that this is not metaphorical, it is literal in its effect. Every choice to detach, every moment of deliberate discipline, every act of response over reaction, every thought directed toward purpose compounds. The new self, forged daily, grows exponentially. Momentum builds. Resistance crumbles. The old self, which once whispered doubt, envy, and fear, becomes a distant echo, powerless, irrelevant, dead. Stand now as though before a mirror, and see not the person you were, but the one you are becoming. This is not fantasy. This is the inevitable product of mastery over mind, mastery over emotion, mastery over self. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are no longer a servant to reaction. You are the architect of thought, the commander of feeling, the master of life. Your old self must die. Your new self rises not someday, not eventually, but now. Moment by moment, choice by choice, act by deliberate act. Now hear this truth with the intensity it demands. The world will attempt to tether you to mediocrity. It will do so with subtle chains, the approval of peers, the lure of comfort, the seductive whisper of, "This is enough." These are not harmless. They are shackles, binding the old self to limits that do not exist except in imagination. Every man or woman who has achieved greatness, who has transformed thought into reality, has confronted this illusion. They have said no fiercely, irrevocably, defiantly to the seduction of ease. And in that no lies the birth of the new self. Understand the principle of mental neutrality. Neutrality is not passivity. It is the deliberate refusal to surrender emotional energy to the petty provocations of life. The neutral mind observes, evaluates, and acts without contamination by anger, fear, resentment, or longing. It is the mind of a general surveying the battlefield, strategic, calculating, unshaken. Each emotional flare that once dictated behavior is now a tool to measure, a datum to consider, not a command to obey. This is mastery, this is power, this is freedom. Yet do not mistake neutrality for detachment from purpose. The neutral mind serves the higher directive. It is not idle, it is not indifferent. It channels energy with precision, focusing all effort on deliberate creation, strategic action, and disciplined thought. Whereas the reactive mind dissipates energy in chaos, the disciplined mind harnesses it like a dam containing a river, unleashing it only where power is required and results are demanded. You must also confront the tyranny of fear. Fear is the old self's most loyal lieutenant, convincing you that risk is death, that challenge is doom, that judgment is unbearable. The new self recognizes fear for what it is: information, a signal, a test of resolve. You do not flee from fear. You step into it deliberately, armed with preparation, clarity, and certainty of purpose. Fear, once mastered, becomes a compass, pointing you toward growth, toward opportunity, toward victory. Each encounter with fear is a battle won. Each victory compounds. Each triumph strengthens the new self until fear itself is transformed from tyrant to servant. Consider also the economy of focus. The mind is finite, energy is finite. The old self fritters both on distractions, gossip, resentment, and triviality. The new self channels focus with ruthless efficiency. Attention is reserved for what serves the ultimate purpose. Time is allocated as a soldier would allocate ammunition carefully, deliberately, without waste. Every thought, every action, every word is measured against the metric of value. If it does not serve progress, it is discarded. If it does, it is executed with relentless vigor. And now, embrace the principle of uncompromising integrity with self. Discipline is not selective. Mastery is not partial. The new self does not negotiate with weakness, does not rationalize indulgence, does not permit excuses. If the mind wavers, it is corrected. If action falters, it is realigned. If purpose dims, it is renewed. The old self tolerates compromise. The new self annihilates it. Every promise to self is sacred, every commitment unbreakable. And in this sacred alignment, power accumulates invisibly, inevitably, unstoppable. Do not underestimate the transformative power of repetition. Repetition is the forge. Repetition turns fleeting effort into habit, habit into instinct, instinct into character. Each act of discipline repeated daily compounds until it becomes unstoppable. Each deliberate act of thought control, emotional mastery, physical conditioning, and strategic action multiplies, building momentum until the old self is drowned in the torrent of the new. Remember, the future is not forged in isolated acts, it is built, brick by brick, moment by moment, choice by choice. It is now imperative to recognize the sacredness of initiative. Initiative is the hallmark of the new self. It does not wait for permission, it does not rely on external stimulus, it does not defer to circumstance, it acts first, decisively, intelligently, and relentlessly. Every opportunity, every challenge, every void in life is approached with ownership. The new self understands that waiting invites stagnation, that hesitation is surrender, that action is the currency of power. And here, let us examine the alchemy of responsibility. The old self blames circumstance, fate, others, or bad luck. The new self assumes full responsibility for thought, emotion, and action. It owns failures, learns, adapts, and overcomes. It owns victories, integrates lessons, and escalates potential. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a conduit for freedom. The moment you accept complete authority over your life, you unleash the full power of your intellect, character, and spirit. Now feel the weight of this final truth. The new self is forged in fire, tempered by trial, sharpened by discipline, and propelled by purpose. You will confront moments of unbearable pressure, moments where old habits scream for indulgence, moments where comfort lures like a siren. You will feel doubt, exhaustion, fear, and isolation. These are not obstacles. They are the raw material of transformation. Step through them, claim them, let them fuel the inexorable rise of your new self. The ultimate secret is deceptively simple. Consistency compounded over time destroys weakness and builds invincibility. You must act daily, relentlessly, unflinchingly. Your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, your discipline must be non-negotiable. The new self is not an aspiration, it is a daily choice, a lived reality, a permanent revolution within your mind and spirit. Each day without compromise is a brick in the fortress of your soul. Each day of deliberate mastery accelerates the inevitable ascent of the new self. And now, as the crescendo approaches, hear this command as if it were thunder in your chest. Burn every last vestige of the old self. Feel it die. Taste its ashes. Release the chains of fear, doubt, attachment, and indulgence. Let them fall away like autumn leaves. Feel the exhilaration of liberation. Let the new self rise from the ashes of destruction, radiant, unyielding, unstoppable. There is no negotiation. There is no compromise. There is only total transformation, total dominion over mind, emotion, and destiny. Stand now, fully aware, fully present, fully sovereign. The universe does not grant greatness, it yields only to those who seize it with relentless will, unshakable focus, and absolute mastery of self. You have the power, you have the tools, you have the discipline. The old self lies dead, the new self rises, commanding, unstoppable, inevitable. Walk forward now, not with hesitation, not with apology, not with fear, but with the unassailable authority of one who has mastered the inner world, and therefore the outer. Rise. Rise without doubt. Rise without hesitation. Rise with the fury of discipline, the clarity of purpose, the calm of mastery, and the invincible power of your new self. Your destiny is no longer a question. It is a certainty. Your old self must die. Your new self will conquer. Your life will become the manifestation of your unshakable will. Go forth and command reality itself. Nothing can stop you, nothing can contain you, nothing remains but your rise, and rise you shall. And as you rise, feel the truth settle in your bones. Every second you breathe is a moment to wield power over your mind, to sculpt reality with your focus, to bend circumstances to your will. The old self thought that life happens to you. The new self knows that life responds to the mastery of thought and the precision of disciplined action. Every thought is a tool, every emotion is a signal, every decision is a lever that moves the axis of your existence. You are no longer bound by inertia, by habit, by the tiny limitations of the past. You are kinetic energy incarnate, unstoppable, inevitable, uncontainable. And understand this, the mind that is trained, disciplined, and relentlessly directed becomes a weapon of infinite power. It strikes with clarity, it acts with certainty, it endures without complaint. You have entered the realm where distraction is impossible, where hesitation is unknown, where weakness has no foothold. The storms of life crash against you, and yet you stand immovable, because you have become the master of the inner realm where all power is born. You are the calm in the eye of chaos, the immovable mountain in a turbulent sea, the eternal flame that cannot be extinguished. Every moment of doubt you once entertained is now fuel for relentless action. Every fear that sought to paralyze you is now a signpost pointing toward growth. Every failure that haunted you is now mortar for the fortress of your mind. This is the power of total detachment, not apathy, but mastery, seeing clearly without allowing the unnecessary to sway, acting decisively without the chains of reaction, thinking relentlessly without surrender to whim or impulse. And as you move forward, know this, the universe does not test you to break you, it tests you to reveal you. Every obstacle, every betrayal, every disappointment is the fire in which the new self is forged. Every trial is a hand that lifts the veil, revealing the strength that was always within, waiting for you to claim it. The moment you take complete responsibility for thought, action, and emotion, you ascend to a plane where mediocrity cannot exist, where excuses are meaningless, where success becomes not a possibility, but a law, absolute and undeniable. Hear me now. You are a sovereign being, commanding the realms of thought, emotion, and reality. No external circumstance can dictate your inner state. No person can control your response. No situation can weaken your resolve. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every rejection is a call to higher power. Every moment of indecision is an invitation to act with the force of a mind that knows its authority, that embraces its discipline, that commands the world itself. And now let us escalate further. Visualize the new self so vividly that it eclipses all memory of the old. See yourself standing atop the highest summit, the wind of achievement at your back, the clarity of purpose blazing in your eyes, the precision of action radiating from every fiber of your being. Hear the echo of your own will in every corner of existence. Feel the surge of authority coursing through your veins. Sense the inevitability of victory in every step. This is no dream, this is no hope. This is the living manifestation of a mind that has conquered fear, mastered emotion, and taken full possession of the inner world. Do you feel it? That tremor of unstoppable force within you, the roar of inevitability, the flame that cannot be extinguished? That is the power of the new self, the one forged through discipline, mental clarity, emotional detachment, and unrelenting purpose. Let it expand. Let it consume every trace of hesitation, every echo of doubt, every last fragment of the old self. For in this fire, you are reborn as an unstoppable architect of destiny, a relentless master of life, a being of absolute authority over your inner and outer world. And as you embrace this, remember this eternal truth. There is no ceiling to the new self, no limit to what thought, discipline, and determination can achieve. Every goal, no matter how audacious, is now within reach. Every obstacle, no matter how imposing, is now a stepping stone. Every vision, no matter how grand, is now inevitable. The old self is nothing but ashes at your feet. The new self is the storm, the lightning, the force that reshapes reality itself. Now, let this final wave crash over you. You are no longer merely alive, you are awakened. You are not merely acting, you are commanding. You do not merely dream, you are creating. The universe has yielded to your mind, your spirit, your disciplined will. The chains are broken, the fear is destroyed, the doubt is obliterated. You are sovereign, you are infinite. You are unstoppable. You rise now in totality with every thought aligned, every action decisive, every emotion mastered, every moment conquered, and let the crescendo reach the ultimate climax. Look at yourself and declare, without hesitation, without apology, without fear, I am the new self. I am the master. I am unstoppable. I am eternal. I am inevitable. The old self dies, the new self rises, and nothing in existence can ever challenge the absolute force of my will. I rise. I conquer. I create. I dominate. I am unstoppable. I am infinite. I am eternal. I am risen.